Cheers, guys. Epix 911, welcome to the Saturday, May 6th, 2017 edition of VR News. As you can see, guys, with the boxes there behind me, the move is in full swing. But let me take a couple of seconds and then I will get right back to VR. Just want to talk about the entity known as CRAIGSLIST, Kijiji, in the same boat. And look, it's by my own design, the architect of my own issues. I absolutely get that, but we're trying to sell stuff because the cost of shipping heavy old stuff, you're better off just selling it and then buying at your destination. Stuff that's, like electronics, for example, fine to ship that. It's expensive, lightweight, it makes sense. So we're packing and getting stuff ready for Wednesday while I'm trying to sell stuff. I've got about a dozen ads up on Craigslist at any given time. And holy crap, is it an exercise in absolute frustration. The kind of frustration, yeah, you will or can look back on later and kind of chuckle. And that's where I said you're either going to sympathize or laugh at me. And they're both fair reactions. But you get so many looky-loos. People asking questions with absolutely zero intent of buying anything. It is such a massive waste of time sink. And if you've used it, like I said, you probably know what I'm getting at. The strangeness, though, I had one guy, I'm selling my 75-inch TV, offer me 2 crappy old TVs in a trade. Why would I want your crappy old TVs? I'm trying to sell mine. I don't want more. And then, of course, the one that absolutely topped it, offering me a crate of canned food for a workout bench. Part of me, and I came close, guys, I kind of wanted to joke with him, and I said, dude, only if it's mushroom soup. But I left it, just left it all alone. But anyways, total exercise and frustration. With that said, about 2/3 of the way there, which is good. All right. Let's get into VR, and first 3 stories are game related. Going to have these games all featured on the next gaming recap video. Let's start with the first one. This is from German developer Barkland Games. It's called Thorrows Beneath the Shadows, and it is a stealth game. Now, each of these games brings kind of uniqueness to the table. They're not mind-blowing graphically or, killer games, nothing of that hype, but they're unique. So when I say stealth game, this one really kind of pays homage, just when I look at the video, the look, the feel, everything, of Thief. If you've never played Thief, it holds up surprisingly well. Yeah, the polygon graphics have aged, but I believe there's some texture, fan enhancements out there. But anyways, it was about being stealthy. Not the first. Wolfenstein, there were all kinds of other games. Wolfenstein 2D is what I'm talking about. And other games that were stealthy as well. But this was the first to make it feel like you were the stealthy person, not you controlling somebody else. It was just amazing. And things like disposing of bodies before the patrol sees it and gets alerted to your presence. Just all kinds of stuff like that. Knocking somebody out as opposed to killing them, etc. So, yeah, basically the granddaddy of stealth games. This, very much like that, and the little touches like taking into account the floor when you're sneaking around, carpet, being quieter than hardwood floor. It's just those little touches. I've always loved stealth games. Super excited about this one. It's going to be for the HTC Vive, and unlike, say, a Budget Cuts, which, also a stealth game, this one, like I said, really tapping into the Thief atmosphere, which I think is awesome. Next up, another interesting game bringing something unique, SuperChem VR. This one's from a company called Shell Games. It's an educational game, but if you've got a kid who's into sciences, chemistry, probably the app to get them, even just as a way to share kind of your enjoyment of VR with your kid. When I was a kid and Exidy, he had a chemistry set. And anybody who's Gen X or baby boomer is going to remember these things. They are totally neutered down and watered down now. They're basically chemical-free chemistry sets now. But back then, No, man, you could make acids. You could, not just corrosive, you could make stink bombs, all kinds of really cool things. And let's face it, imagination for us, that was our VR. And I remember Exidy and we would spend hours on his chem set, with the fantasy that we were going to be like, Raiders of the Lost Ark, go to South America, find hidden temples. But before we did that, we needed to create poison-tipped darts to knock people out who are going to be chasing us around the tombs. Ridiculous, absolutely. But when you're a kid, man, it was fun. So many hours spent on that. So SuperChem, also like that, going back to those old chemistry sets, you're just basically limited only by your imagination. You get the instant satisfaction of results. You can tinker, do all kinds of things. I think, a very cool app, especially if maybe you've got a kid who's the opposite. They're not into the sciences. And you're looking for a way to kind of maybe, raise that interest level a little bit, have them do a little bit better in school. Check this out. SuperChem VR, HTC Vive, unfortunately, only by the looks of it. Hopefully that's going to be available on other HMDs. And then the third one, guys, this one from Polish developers Anshar Studios, a game called Detached. And what I love about this is it's PvP as its kind of main delivery. You're basically running around 0G or floating around in EVA spacesuits. You're not just shooting each other in this capture the flag. You are able to do stuff like lock people into rooms, open hatches, vent them out into space, all kinds of creative ways to deal with opponents. So it looks really good. Apparently a single player available as well on this. So check that out. It's still early, but one to keep an eye on. And that one, unlike the other two, Rift, Vive, and OSVR. All right. First, non-game news story, the bandwidth problem. This one from Venturebeat. 5 issues that the VR industry must resolve. Now, we've kind of touched on some of these in the past, but it's a good summary. It's a pretty lengthy article. I'm only going to summarize it here, not go on about it, but 5 issues quickly. The first one, figuring out a way to stream high def to both eyes. We know that. If you want something cloud-based VR, that's, real-time, multiplayer, we've got to improve the technology behind that. Right now, 720p is about 50 megabits. There's a lot of people who don't even have an internet connection speed that fast. So that's one thing to be addressed. Future-proofing for 4K streams, slow connections, motion sickness in that one, effectively compressed video. And that's where I'm so excited about those groups that are working on the wireless solutions, because a lot of them are dealing with exactly that, compression algorithms. And then the fifth one they talk about is the old chicken and egg, right? How can you get the killer game if you don't have the install base? How do you get the install base if you don't have killer games? So, interesting article. Check that out. I've got the link below. And then the last story, guys, NeosVR from he known as Frooxius. Probably done about 3 stories over the last year on him and his creation, NeosVR. This one, according to Frooxius, the last update before the fun stuff. In other words, this was kind of the brute force update that needed to happen. Now he says the group is going to spend time on the user interface, graphics, and spruce things up, make them more intuitive, etc. What this is, like I said, he calls it the metaverse engine. It's going to allow people to build VR experiences. Doesn't seem like it's going to be gaming, but experiences definitely. And what's really cool about it, collaboratively in real time. So it doesn't matter as long as the connection is fast. You could be in Canada, the other person in Australia, another in Hong Kong, all working collaboratively in real time on that VR experience. Very cool. Check that out. His website, like I said, you can get lost in the technical, and if that's your bag, awesome. But for those of you who, aren't that technical or don't really want to know the technical, you can kind of skim through the videos, but you'll get an idea of just how complex NeosVR actually is. All right, guys, that is it for the news on this Saturday. Hope you guys are having a kick-ass weekend. As always, cheers.